Good evening, everybody. It's Quizzy Monday again, and we've had a right rollicking set of episodes of our favourite quizzes tonight to talk about with you. I'm not sure I'm making sense right now, but hey, that's good because we've got people who definitely will make sense. Lewis is away this week. Riding shotgun with me will be Michael McPartland, and we have Elizabeth, Thea, Stanley, and Rachel from tonight's Only Connect, which promises to be a real treat of a chat. So before we get going with them, a couple of things to make you aware of. How about this? There's so much going on in the quiz world, it can be really hard to keep on top of it all. Let us do it for you with the All Things Quiz newsletter. News from All Things Quiz and from the wider world of quiz delivered to your inbox every Tuesday. Sign up at allthingsquiz.com or scan this QR code. So there you are. The next newsletter is going out tomorrow morning. If you are subscribed to the newsletter, or if you're one of our Patreon members, you're in with a chance to win the Pop Master board game at the end of the month when we draw that. Now, you can also put comments or questions in the chat. So we've got a few people. Yesterday, I think Snazzy Quizzes, but a bit early. Yes, you were. Catherine Burkett, hello. Claire Barrow, g'day all. Gerard, howdy. Chris, oh no ads. Damn it. And also Chris says hello. And Chris, well done. You got a 3-pointer in the Mastermind predictions, I believe. And Catherine, a bit of chilled house in the background there. Lovely. Yes, indeed. This week we've been putting out videos, or in the last week we've been putting out videos about the Nobel Prizes. We've got a couple of short ones to go out, these YouTube shorts. Then we'll be doing a longer version of everything you need to know about the Nobel Prize winners, because they are going to come up in quizzes if they haven't already. So let's get cracking. First of all, let's bring Michael on. Evening, Michael. How you doing?
Hi there. I'm all right. Yeah. How are you?
Good. So you're normally seen in the chat commenting from the wings, but tonight you're with us, and you've had a good week in the world of quiz in this week's Quiz Grand Prix. Well done on that.
That's right. Thank you very much. Yeah, 7th place overall, which is my second highest position, and a genre-winning sport, third in entertainment. So gotta be happy with that.
Quizzing weekends don't come much better than this.
No, pretty much not.
So well done for that, Michael. We will cover that Quest Grand Prix later when we talk Quiz Week and news from the world of quiz. Chris is saying, thought I'd drawn my usual blank in MM, but happy to be corrected. Yep, Valerie spotted that really early on, actually in the general knowledge. And snazzy cans, Michael.
Hope you that refer to.
Hope you're feeling better, Catherine. Catherine had COVID last week. Hopefully is over it. And talking of COVID, one of our guests has COVID right now. So let's bring on the sadly afflicted Stanley and the so far not infected Elizabeth, Thea, and Rachel. Welcome, all of you.
Thank you so much.
So sorry for outing your medical condition. I don't think there's a kind of clinician patient
they can probably tell from the sort of sickly look you've got going on.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
The pallor, yeah.
Well, I had to watch our game from sat outside on the balcony of our flat, sort of just shivering in the cold slightly, while my housemates were rubbing it in my face. So that was a fun little treat as well.
I would suggest that maybe the scarf was because you were cold and shivering, but actually that scarf is, the Gunners.
Can't get away from them.
Got to celebrate. It's been 2 good days for the Arsenal fans.
Fantastic. 2 good days. And a good weekend for Middlesbrough as well, Mike.
Well, 4-0 against the Markhams. I'll take that any weekend.
So, not such a good night, alas, for the Stitchers. But I mean, it was one of these things where when I saw the teams and it all came up and it was like, I put it on Twitter, it's like, oh dear God, why does one of these teams have to go? What is wrong? And then they're not going. None of them are going home.
You'll stuck with us for a bit longer.
No, I can't get rid of us that easy.
It was an absolute delight to have that moment of realization and to have humbled myself on Twitter. Because both of you, and in fact, I think the casting team have done a fantastic job this series in casting not only talented teams, but really kind of engaging, lovely to watch teams, and I can say that because I'm watching on with jealousy and green-eyed envy that I'm not actually on the series myself. But no, I think it's been great. 2 shows in, how do you sum up the experience thus far?
It's a strange one from our end. I know. Obviously, it's been a while. I think that's the weirdest thing. This was all filmed in May, so it's slightly strange to sort of only now having it like being shown, and knowing that we've all got at least one more episode as well. So we've still got more to come as well. It's a slightly strange sort of, particularly everyone watching this, people on Twitter. We know what happens next. Trying to enjoy the process, but also being aware of like what's up next.
And when you're looking forward to it and you've won, that's one thing. But like Elizabeth, Thea, Rachel, were you looking forward to watching this game back?
I think like for me, because I really remember filming. I remember like filming the first one because it was like on its own, and then all the others we did were like in quite a concentrated burst about 2 months later. So in my mind, like all of those are sort of blurred into one, and it's like I remember losing, but I didn't remember how much. I didn't remember like kind of any of the questions. So it was kind of fun watching back. So I was like, oh, I know we lose, but mostly I remember it just being like a nice weekend as opposed to any specific episode. Like we all went bowling afterwards. It was just very nice. It's a very nice day. So I wasn't too like dreading watching us lose, but I don't know how you guys felt.
Yeah, I felt like I really enjoyed the episode because obviously like we mostly enjoyed hanging out with the Gunners, obviously before we came across the various allegations, went bowling with them. That was really fun.
Yeah, it was a real shame.
It doesn't sound great out of context. For anyone watching, there's been some insults on Twitter. You choose to believe what you believe. #fake news.
They addressed the Nepo baby allegations on the show.
The Nepo baby thing. I think genuinely, I might be Only Connect's first ever Nepo baby. So I'll take credit for that.
They've had families on before, but never on different teams. I would guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the resident statistician, but I feel like that's not the most common thing in the world.
They could do like a family showdown Christmas special where you guys have to fight each other.
That's good. Could be good strategy. Is that why you did it? Just
it would be good.
I've been texting my dad all about this, and he only, I mentioned at the beginning, he only won one game when he was on I think season 16. So this marked the time where we passed his level. So I don't need to play them. We're better. We won. It's over. So
I had that one 15-1 when I went one better than my brother. It's a good feeling when you've got the bragging rights. Rachel, your mum's a good quizzer as well. Any chance of us seeing her?
I'm not sure she'd want to be on the TV. Actually, I think because we talked about being on a team together, and then we just never did. But yeah, she's my kind of quizzing model. Everything she does, I end up doing as well. Apart from this, all the other quizzes I do are just like me tagging along, sort of like a bring your daughter to work day every time my mum does something.
That's how I started with quiz as well. My dad does all the sort of online.
No Nepo baby allegations against me.
She could be a Nepo mother.
The first one.
Yes.
So we talked, just mentioned about kind of thinking about losing. Michael, from your perspective, so when I lose on a quiz show, I just don't bother watching it.
I still watch it just to see how it goes, but it's not the same. It's not the same experience. It's so much nicer to watch yourself winning than losing.
I think I've seen my Only Connect semi-final once, and I've never had the inclination to watch it again.
Yeah, I might not go back for a second time. I think when I've won, I think I watched it endlessly for a couple of days. But, yeah.
Anyway,
I lost once.
It's we've got Gerard. I'm the better brother at quizzes. He has a 6-figure salary, swings and roundabouts. Yeah, win some, you lose some.
Yeah, nice to have neither.
So yeah, tonight's match. First round was really, really tight, and there were a few questions that went dead. Knowing that you're not going home at the end of it, does that take kind of some of the pressure off you?
Yeah, I think we definitely took a few more sort of gambles. Like the sidecar one definitely is probably something that we wouldn't have gone for. I mean, it's only at 2, but we wouldn't have gone for that, I think, in an earlier round. I think a lot of it is just a generational thing. I don't know how you guys feel, but there were definitely things for me where I was like, you know what, I'm sure there's a team here of people a generation above us, maybe even like 10 years above us, that would nail half of that. And, you know, and we had that sort of disadvantage.
Certainly when me and myself and Gareth were younger, Batman, even though it's from the 60s, it was on the telly constantly until the 90s. So we've seen Robin in his sidecar probably numerous times.
That's a tough one. Because I showed my dad that because it was the preview question on that Victoria tweeted, and I showed it to my dad. I was like, "Do you know what this is?" Because we didn't get it, and one at a time. He got it from Clarissa Dixon Wright, which I can't speak for the Stitches, but I still don't know who that is.
I've got nothing.
So, you know, it's sort of, and with that being the most obvious clue is obviously a disadvantage for us, really.
Yeah, I mean, hands up in the chat who's feeling old right now. But yeah,
she's probably 90s, isn't the 90s? I think Clarissa Dixon, right?
I think so. Yeah,
maybe early 90s.
Yeah, two fat ladies with a cookery show that they were, and they went around the country in a sidecar, etc. How about you, Stitches? How did you approach it? And particularly, you know, Rachel as captain, did you feel different in the second game from the first game?
Well, I know going into it, like in the dressing room and that, I was making a big thing of how I was gonna like up my game as a captain and become a bit of a tyrant, but that didn't actually work. And
you have to wait till a later episode.
In the later episode,
it does.
Maybe. I think we just, again, like when we went in for the first episode, we're so excited to be on our little holiday that we kind of forgot we had to answer questions, so we were just along for the ride. And I think because we knew. Did we know that we couldn't go home after that one? I think we must.
Yeah.
So again, we were just kind of along for the ride and see what happened.
Yeah, there was some nice questions though. I thought probably, I don't know. There's a couple of candidates for answer of the round for me. The fishing, the kind of belated number ones, I liked, and I really liked the music one. But the Omega etymologically one.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a really sweet, nice spot of the clue in there, and knowledge as well. The Omega. Who was it that came up with that one?
That's mine. But in fairness, I do have a classics degree, so if I didn't know my Greek,
I thought it was like. It was genuinely spectacular how often your classics degree came in handy, like across the It's like if you can't. It was incredible. It was like the gods were smiling on us. We were like, literally, your degree is suddenly so relevant to every single question.
It's a very handy base for quizzing, isn't it? Classics, really, and
it's so useful. Yeah,
it's history and geography are probably the two.
I mean, I also have a classics degree, and I didn't. My first thought, I saw the Omega, and I was like, it's a W. which is very much not right.
Yeah, but I mean, say for quizzing, if you know kind of some Latin or some Greek, the amount of questions that unlocks is fantastic. But still, under pressure, you still got to fish that out. You did, and you know the Roy Orbison one. I mean, it's just. I guess you had nothing to lose going for it, but it was still a really good spot, and having the right logic for it was good. And I say I did like the music one. What did you appreciate from that round, Michael?
Well, I like the sidecars one because that's just right up my street there with popular culture. I would have been tempted to go for Sean Connery films after 2 clues because he played Robin in Robin and Marion and Henry Jones Sr. in Indiana Jones.
That must have been what they were going for, to try and
try to do a trick.
Tease you into an early buzz, and
I like the music. Normally, I only get music for 1 point, but it suited me. I get recognised.
I'd love to see Sean Connery as Gromit.
It would be.
That would have been interesting.
He certainly wouldn't have the Lancashire accent.
He never needed to change that. Even when he's playing an Egyptian in Highlander, still you get the Scottish accent.
So yeah, that was great. The other thing I liked, and this I think was from Stitches. Which one was the comment? We guessed on vibes.
Yeah, so I think that was Because genuinely, it's like I think to the extent that I have the skills and only Connect player, like what I can do is guess what's the kind of question they'll have written. So that's when we all like, this is the kind of thing they'll have done, but like we didn't know. And then we were right, and they were like, which ones do you know? And we were just like, we didn't know. We just thought like this seems like the kind of thing you guys would have done. Yeah, just based on vibe.
But that's a good skill to have in your prep. Did you do a lot of chewing over old questions? And I noticed in your wall, you clearly got some wall technique in there. But Rachel, you're shaking your head, so you've not been kind of getting into the mindset.
I'm just shaking my head at the way you suggested we did any prep.
We did.
I don't even know if we watched an episode. No, we did. We watched one episode in the hotel room.
When we were in the hotel, we watched a couple.
I think I made us watch like a very old comic relief one. From, like,
yes, I don't even think we watched one with David Mitchell in it. I don't think it was even.
Yeah, because I was like, it's going to be great, and then we.
But I guess we must have picked it up subconsciously. I think there's a lot to be said about that being the second time, like in the studio, and kind of like knowing a bit more like what you're in for. I guess sort of that like set a tone for being a bit more comfortable, especially with the wall, like knowing what the wall is going to look like, because it is not projected on the screen in the area. It's on that little TV. That really helps, like knowing what it's going to look like, I think.
Yeah. Stanley, what about your team? Did you do much in the way of prep?
We're going to sound like
particularly with the advantage that you have.
Yeah, well, we did. We have. I've got them here actually. We have the two Only Connect quiz books. We did not to influence anyone into buying them. We worked our way through those on the train over. Other than that, not really. Because
they must have loved you in that carriage.
Actually, we had one guy who knew what we were doing, and I think afterwards he was like, "Oh, good luck on the show." And I think everyone else very clearly.
Whenever you're doing a quiz on the train, people join in. It's guaranteed.
I think we got quite lucky that it's quite tricky if we're just sort of shouting out random things for people to jump in and go, "I know what this is." It's not. It's a slightly harder forward quiz, which I think we appreciated. Well, the train people probably didn't, but still. We were relatively new as well. Michael had never seen an episode before we were on. Yeah, so but we had a pretty
that's brave, isn't it? That's brave to go on a TV show which is renowned for its sort of tricksiness and not have a clue what you're letting yourself into.
Yeah, well, I think it's nice to have that as well, because it is. I think you get into a certain way of thinking, or sort of, as you say, you try and predict what they're doing, which when it works like that, it's fantastic. But there's definitely other times where I've gone, no, Only Connect, they want this, and it's nice to have someone who doesn't have that same sort of bias, that can just be like, no, you're overthinking it. Don't be silly. It's this simple thing, which I think helped us a couple of times.
Yeah, I think because that sort of played in with on the second round where the numbers won, because if you watch Only Connect a lot, you're looking for that all the time. So I don't know if that played if you were looking for that kind of thing as well when you got that one, because you got it quite early.
Yeah, I think anything like cryptic crosswordy I quite like as a person. So I'm always on the look. I'm like, is it a word thing? Because I always want it to be, because I don't really know anything, but I can do that. So I don't know. That was fine, and I think it was nice that they gave it to us, because it was meant to be like the number of letters either side, and we didn't. None of us. I didn't think that was happening. So
no, I didn't know at the start. I just thought of a phrase I'd four in it.
Yeah, that would have been harsh, because what you said was accurate. It's like, there was absolutely nothing wrong with what you said. It just wasn't quite, exposing the elegance of the question writing. But it sucks to be them if people don't spot it. You still got the question right. So yeah, that was good. I like the horrible history spot as well, Stanley. That was a good one.
We were quite happy about that. Eleanor, she said before we watched this episode, Ellen's Irish, and she said she found it quite funny that as soon as we went, it's royal houses, I turned to look at her, and she's immediately very offended by the fact that I thought she might know English royal houses, quite reasonably. But we like that. That was a nice one as well. Just a little, and again, talk about the generational thing. I think that's something that maybe we have an advantage on, because that I devoured those books as a kid. That maybe someone a bit older, or maybe someone who doesn't have kids or whatever, might struggle with a bit more. So it's nice that it fell into our laps quite nicely.
We were quite upset that you got that question, because we were like, we got that 5 points.
My first thought was Yeah, my first thought was Alexander's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. That's what I thought it was going to be, and then it very swiftly wasn't. So that's quite glad we didn't risk anything.
Yeah, but you got it on the second one, which was good, and then you picked up the hidden numbers straight after, so it's kind of like trading blow for blow in that round, and a couple that went begging. Just the BBC political editors, I could see the pain on your face, Stanley.
Yeah, Ivan, no, you didn't. It's one of those ones, isn't it?
It's an annoying one. It's just like, I think it's not. We're glad we picked up the link. And what's funny with Cut is that we said Amal Raja, and Victoria's immediate response was, "Oh, he's doing everything on the BBC these days," which I enjoyed.
But he's on the Today Show, so he's in the right sort of area, isn't he? So.
Yeah, it wasn't an unreasonable guess. The thing that arguably, actually, there was another thing that was not unreasonable. Horned, well done, Stanley. Approve.
Horned, always horned.
I mean, hang on. Thea, you're shaking your head. What's your team's view on this?
We've always been hardcore team horns. I'd say, because we used to watch it together at lunchtime before we applied, and then there was controversy in our first episode because Rachel accidentally said horned one time, and I turned to her outraged, and so, but no. So we're very much. I think I speak for the group. We're very much team horned. Very much team horned.
And as a team who love the Horned Viper, you got to get that kind of thing right. I'm never living Horned down.
Yeah, that was our favourite one.
Yeah, we were actually quite upset when you chose not only the Horned Viper, but called it Horned.
Sorry.
That's horrible. It's a lovely little creature. We love it so much. And anytime anyone doesn't pick it first, I think less of them as a team.
Yeah, that's why we lost, because we didn't get our little mascot, I think.
Exactly.
Talking of the statistician, I wonder if anybody out there could tell us whether series champions are more likely to be people who say horned or horned. I think somebody should get out there and try and work this one out.
That's going to require a lot of research.
People who say horned are more likely to be just sort of reprobates. More likely to be in prison.
Yeah, none of people who'd read the Only Connect book on the train.
Yeah. I mean, Stanley probably says it because his dad said it, So
yeah, he told me everything I know.
So what have we got? Gerard saying, I got away with it by saying horned and horned according to taste. Oh, horned and horned.
Pick a side of the fence.
Oh, Gerard. I mean, that's almost worse, isn't it?
Yeah, that's worse. Yeah.
You can't.
There's nothing worse than a bystander. That's the worst.
Yeah. It's the Switzerland of quizzing.
You've got to pick a side. Now, the big controversy of round 2 was the House of the Rising Sun.
I'm so annoyed about it.
Well, the map was tiny, wasn't it? You couldn't make any details out of it. Over the Baton Rouge was in quite
Yeah, I think we knew it was New Orleans, and I'd said that's a po' boy, but we didn't get connection between them.
I honestly, I will never forgive myself. I think this would be my last thought before I die, because I do know that song, and I was honestly, I'm so sorry, everyone.
I mean, the many a po' boy was reaching, wasn't it? That was doing a lot of kind of imaginatively.
There was a lot of hurried discussion with the question writers upstairs. I think during that, because it's obviously it's a po' boy sandwich, but Victoria's sort of very keen to pronounce it poor boy. Which I spent most of that when you were answering the question. I spent most of that whispering to Eleanor, "It's a po' boy," and her going, "I'm pretty sure it's a poor boy." And I go, "No, it's a po' boy." And we had that without even thinking that the question might come to us, and then it did. And we sort of had to hurriedly go, "What's next?"
At what point did you get the sinking feeling that she was going to ask you to sing?
You never think it's going to happen to you.
I think I must have blacked out of my memory from anxiety. Like, I didn't remember that at all, and I muted the TV when it came on because I was like, if you can hear my voice in that,
it was horrendous.
It was like watching it was ahead of my hand.
It was so bad.
I was bad.
I can't believe she did that.
Yeah,
I simply didn't really know the words. I knew
the
first 2 lines.
As well known as they're making it sound.
Yeah, it's about 60 years old, isn't it? It's not.
I did know the words, and I did them. I was like, even that's kind of worse because I was like, I don't want to be like belting this out like I'm on The Voice because like, I'm not the worst person who's ever lived. So it's like you've got to be. But then it was just.
There's no winning. There's no winning.
We all hated
When
it.
she asked you to sing,
As
yeah.
it was happening.
It's the worst thing. It's the worst thing.
I mean, Thea, though, imagine if you had belted it out like you're on The Voice and somewhere in South Wales, Tom Jones had swiveled in his chair and thought, get me that woman's number.
I think anyone who like actually tries to sound good in the singing bit, that's such bad behavior.
Having talent is cringe.
Okay, paging Gerard in the chat.
Or I think it's thinking that you do is awful, and it's just like I don't want to.
I think the only way you can get away with it is if all 6 of you are a great singer. I think that's the only.
Yeah. You either have to be really, really good or terrible.
Be like
There's
part of a
no
singing
middle
group,
ground.
and then you go on together, and then it's like.
Well, Lizzie and I both in our childhood been
You got trauma.
Yeah, both of us separately were the only kids not invited on the choir trip at school or something, like the only member of the choir not good enough to go on the choir trip separately. So my worst nightmare is being asked to sing publicly.
I auditioned for a choir that wanted 20 people, and then they changed it to they actually wanted 17 people after only 18 auditions.
Oh my word! I never thought this would be like musical group therapy, but Steve is saying, well, we had Gerard first. Gerard famously, I think, gave us our first great Only Connect singing moment, and coincidentally, the last great Only Connect singing moment.
Lindsay Baumeister will be.
Actually, no, that's true. That. Yeah, no, Lindsay did a cracking job singing. Actually, to be fair, Steve Barnes, interestingly. And hi, Steve. Still eagerly waiting on a music sequence this series. Interesting.
Not yet.
And I've been known to tunelessly warble Rising Sun whilst tidying my bedroom, followed by We Gotta Get Out of This Place. Well, there you go. Another insight into the life of Catherine Burkett there. 7-5 at the end of 2 rounds. I mean, it was 2-2, then 7-5. There's nothing between you at that point, is there? You kind of both teams feeling still in the match. Rachel, what was the mindset? Because you were first up, weren't you, on walls? What was your mindset going into that wall?
I think with most of our rounds, it was just to kind of see what happened thing. I think we did get a bit panicked. I'd like completely blanked out most of that episode, including the wall, and I didn't realize how panicked like the way we were talking to each other was until there was that bit where it was like we thought it was Coasts and Shades of Blue, and looking back on it, I'm like, what was that? I'm a teacher, and I've just been in the boarding house where the girls have been watching it, and a year 9 came up to me and was like, how could you think that Zuma is a shade of blue? I was like, you're so right. How could I at my grade age think that Zuma was a shade of blue?
Walls aren't easy things.
Panic.
It happens to the best of us, particularly when you latch onto one thing and you kind of forget the things that disqualify other things. Yeah, I mean, the day I said when we were doing a wall that honey grew on trees, was not my finest moment. But in my defense, I remembered Winnie the Pooh and getting stuck in a tree. So, it's... Pam says, sorry, back on the singing. You haven't heard us sing yet.
Oh, there you go.
Hold your breath. Good advice to singing, Pam. But, I mean, you did well early on to kind of avoid some of the traps that were there in the dogs. You could have been cycling around with Dalmatians in there for quite some time, and you
put pomelo in course a couple of times, but then you moved away from it quite quickly. I think after about 30 seconds. But
yeah. So when you're doing this, you were saying earlier, when you're doing it, you've got a little screen up in front of you, not the big huge thing we see on TV, and then in front of you you've got a touch screen thing where you actually put your answers in. How much, when you first saw that, did it kind of throw you that it wasn't as you expected, and were you kind of more relaxed about it second time round?
I think we were really thrown the first time by the kind of physical geography of the studio, because the wall and the main bit are all in one room, but when the light is off at the wall section, you can't see it, and then it's like, surprise, the wall's been there all along. But this time we were ready, and we knew the wall was going to be there, so they couldn't get us like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the whole touchscreen thing is so overwhelming. I think especially having, I don't know if you found this too, Stanley, being captain in the middle, you don't know how much you should be doing it, or if someone else knows the answer, you're like, you go for it, you do the touchscreen.
Oh, if anyone had tried to touch that screen while I was on it, I would have punched them.
You really went. See, I wanted to do that already, but I don't think I got there. I don't think I reached that level.
Would they have allowed somebody else? I mean, you were captain, Rachel. Would they have allowed somebody else to play that role of touching the doing the controls?
I don't know. I feel like there were some points when Lizzie and Thea would like tap at the same time. Like if I was still stood in the middle, I think I have to stand in the middle too for the nice tall and short dynamic that was going on at the wall. But I don't know if they would really like, if you got stage fright and didn't want to be the one doing the touching on the touch screen, where they let you switch out or like do it.
Yeah.
I hope they'd be nice and let you switch out.
Also, the last few years,
we're just very aware of our place. You know, I don't know about you, Liz. I was like, I'm a
when I was on it, anyone could press, but it's advisable. Only one person does it, so you're not accidentally putting two different groups in at the same time.
Yeah, I suppose like, obviously the last, is it 2-3 years have been with the like glass bit, so only the captain could do it. So I think it was sort of a bit of a, they're still figuring out whether or not that was within guidance.
I bet those captains became insufferable. If you were in your own little booth and only you could touch the screen,
it already went to my head. It would have been so much worse.
But how frustrating would that have been, though, if you were to the side of the captain and you could see what needed to be pressed and the captain was just not getting it? It would be frustrating. And I wonder, because having played the game and having played Connections Online Quiz League, there are some captains who are really good at piecing together kind of the logic on rounds 1 and 2. But the wall is a kind of a slightly different skill set, and not necessarily the captain will always be the best person to be doing that. It would be nice to switch. Pam, who's on your series, says I think someone else can tap the wall.
I think certainly if you're cycling around like 5 or 6 answers, you can forget which ones you've done, and another person on the team might remember. So perhaps they would have been the better person to do it. But
that's what's what we tried to what was the only sort of place where you can really do any strategy is the wall, and we sort of very much delegated like Eleanor on our team has her brain just works in such a way that the word ones she was always really good at getting anything wordy. So we'd sort of say, right, if you look at that. And then Tig and I will sort of try and do some sort of general fact-based groups, and then we'll sort of come together at the end after we've got a couple. Sort of how we tried to approach it. There were no word-based ones on this one, but unlike our last one, but adds up quite nicely.
But I think, as with the last episode, we were more concerned about how we looked from the back than
the back of your head. Give me nightmares.
Yeah,
it's not your business how you look from behind. That's
that's not information.
You do your whole life not knowing, and that's how you've evolved to be.
Don't need it.
It was the first time I really kind of accepted how much I was thinning on top. It has to be said. Up to that point, you could kind of kid yourself, but
not when the nation's seen it.
Not when 3 million people have seen the back of your bonds. 5 points. At that point, you're kind of thinking, well, we're probably going to have some ground to make up in missing vowels. Of course, you don't know what the Gunners are going to do. Stanley, your wall, I think it was some very good play in that. I thought watching it, some really kind of spotting things, very methodically dealing with some of the sets that you could see.
Thank you.
Again, does that come from your practice, from watching the show, from your dad? I mean, where does that come from?
Yeah, I think for us, obviously we had like a small lead, so I think we were slightly more relaxed, and we went second as well, which I think we had done the previous ones. We were sort of vaguely familiar with that, chasing rather than leading. So we were a bit less pressured. But I think as with the last one, we got one group quite quickly. Sort of because 5 emperors or 5 pharaohs or whatever, and you can quite easily just there you go. Yeah. And I think once there's one in, as long as you can spot the other groups, it's okay. There were definitely a couple of red herrings that I think we were quite lucky to avoid, to be honest, just by ignorance more than anything else. And we had the same thing in the last one. We just don't know that that's one of the options. And then the South African football teams was a nice one for us. Just because it was, and V's already pointed this out, like I knew Kaiser Chiefs, and Amazulu made sense as a South African team, obviously. And then the other one was just like, well, okay, well, let's have a go at that, and then sort of try and logic out the other way, which is not really how we'd approached things before, and worked out quite nicely as a sort of fun way to play it as well, rather than just like, oh, we know these four. It's the same lateral thinking that you're applying to the first two rounds that you're putting in here, and it was nice to sort of stretch our brains in that same way that we'd already warmed up.
Yeah. Claire's put New Amazulu was a plural of Zulu, so seeing Kaiser Chiefs assumed it was a football club. And Pam spotted the significance of
it had to be the football club as well, because the band's spelled differently. So.
Yeah, that was something I to be fair, I think given a bit more time, I might have clocked, but at the time, other stuff going on in my head.
It's still a good lead. And my favourite South African football team was in there, the Morocco Swallows. Love them.
No Orlando Pirates, unfortunately.
Yeah, no. I've been to their ground. Anyway, I digress. But it was good because there were quite a few kind of, because unbeknownst to you, perhaps Amazulu were a 1980s all-female group.
Exactly, that's exactly what I mean. Like, that's just not something that was on our radar at all. So we
I was expecting an extra prompt on the bands because they all contain sisters, which are.
Was it sisters as well?
Yeah, they're all sisters. But female bands was enough because that surely connects.
Hyman Bananarama I knew were sisters, but I wouldn't have. I know Cleopatra coming at you, but I wouldn't have known they were sisters.
Yeah, but Cleopatra coming at you is pretty much all you need to know, to be fair. But also nicely done with the African football teams. Prompt South African football teams. Yeah. Classic Oli Connect.
Go a bit, just in case.
Yeah, go broad and then get them to force you to go narrow if you have to.
Because I think I saw that. I can't remember. Was it Red Eye earlier this series? Someone had, and it was all, as in they thought it was all things that were Red Eye, but it turns out it was just colors of eye or something like that earlier this series.
Yeah.
Reminded me of the same thing, just going too specific too quickly. Yeah.
17-10 after the wall. I guess Stitch has the luxury of knowing that you're not going home anyway. Must be good. And you started really well on the missing vowels. You must have been thinking of those good films. It's like, okay, I think you got the first three. It's like, actually, this could be game on.
I was just in absolute panic mode, and I was like, for some reason, I was like imagining everything as if it was a film, and I was like, and now the underdog must come forward. So I was just like really panicky, which worked for three, but then I got one of them wrong, which I again will think about on my deathbed. Because I was just like, you know what, with nothing to lose, like we've got to just like go. And for a while I was like, we could recoup this, and obviously that was not. But yeah. I don't know, panic mode, 100%.
You're going to be very busy on your deathbed, Thea, by the time.
Honestly, this series, it's good because until now I've been like, I wonder what I'll think about, but now I've got that, I've got a schedule, I've got an agenda. I can just go through the list point by point. It's going to be much easier.
Elizabeth and Rachel, had you talked through, because you've known how you'd done on your wall, you knew you were going to be chasing a deficit. Had you talked through how you're going to approach the missing vowels?
I am so bad at missing vowels that we've got a running joke that it's nap time for Lizzie in the last round. I've got two in my life, and one of them was the comic relief one we watched at the hotel the night before, and then the one that we got in the first episode. So not to spoil it to anyone, but I never get another one.
Spoilers.
Going into it, I was like, we're behind. There's absolutely nothing I can do about that. Good luck to you and Rachel.
So Rachel as captain, did you give him a stirring kind of, Eve of Agincourt style speech?
I'd like to think I did, but I think in reality, anytime we went off backstage to wait to come back on again, we were really distracted by these lovely goose print tablecloths they had in the dining room.
It was so nice.
So I think, in all honesty, rather than rousing the troops, I was like, "Where do you think the goose tablecloth's from? Can we get one like that?"
We also did like quite a lot of line dancing.
Yeah, we got really into dance.
We got really into that.
Yeah.
So I think we were probably in the middle of doing a little dance rather than anything practical. And it, to be fair, showed because we did then lose the episode.
Looking back, it all falls into place.
I think that's where we went wrong.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but like if the competition were who did the most line dancing, it'd be a different story.
We didn't. I will say we didn't do any line dancing.
Don't suggest that to Victoria because that'll be the next thing she has to do.
And then, to be fair, it's very hard to line dance on a train, so that would have been problematic for the Gunners. 25-13 kind of makes it feel, I don't know, more of a thumping than actually for much of the match that it was. I thought, actually, first 2 rounds it was close. You got a bit of a sticky wall, and so much can hinge on just being a fraction quicker on the buzzer in the round. But I didn't feel that it was a 12-point difference between the two teams. How about you, Stanley?
No, even more watching it back was very much like, oh, this is, and knowing as well, and this was true in our first episode. We wouldn't have got that wall. We wouldn't have got your wall for 10. Definitely, I would be shocked if we did. And I don't know how you wouldn't necessarily have got on with ours, but knowing that had that gone the other way, as with the last one, it would have been very different. So I think we were quite lucky in some ways in terms of how the questions fell. And again, with like horrible histories, that going to us and whatever.
And that's exactly why we were such sore losers when we went bowling.
Throwing stuff at us
on the warpath
in the next aisle.
Yeah, get that 16-pound ball and throw it. Yes.
It's always true that I think in the missing barrels when it, if you get a bit of momentum or where you build up a bit of a head of steam, then it does make that, it's the round with the most points, and it can really sort of change the sort of colouring of a game afterwards. Yeah.
Rachel, how did your team feel? You'd won your first match. It's like brilliant. We've done no work, no prep. We've won this. This is an easy game. This, and then you lose your second, and you've got to play another round fairly soon afterwards, haven't you? You did that for that weekend. Apart from the fact that you couldn't wait to go temping bowling, what was the kind of team mindset at that point? Was it, I guess, we're here for fun, or was it like, okay, now let's kind of cut the line dancing, let's get going?
I don't think it ever got serious. We were so excited to go bowling. I can't even remember what we did. We finishing filming and go bowling.
I think we
had room service. We had room service.
I'm so sorry to whoever books the hotels in Cardiff. Breakfast is lovely. Room service, I'd give it a miss. It was not very nice. Yeah. So I had admittedly gross pizza and then went bowling. And I don't think Only Connect entered our minds until the next day when we were on our way back to the studio again.
Nice.
Yeah. I think we all got really superstitious. Like after for the third episode, we were like
really into moments.
Yes. We were like obsessively trying to recreate anything that we had done in the first episode that had not done in the second. So like, for example, on the first episode, we had this daffodil in our dressing room that Lizzie had been given at Paddington Station because it's International Women's Day. So I went out and I was in this like art centre gift shop and there was a little like daffodil painting and I bought that painting for us. So I was like, oh, this will be a good omen because then we'll have a daffodil the third time. And it was like everything like that. It was like, was our hair up? Did I have eyeliner on? Like every single thing we got like really like spooky about it.
So
like,
rather than
Thea from wearing some earrings because of it or something.
Yeah, I think I wasn't allowed to wear the same earrings.
We just got really superstitious, and then we won all sorts of trinkets in the arcade and built this shrine. The next day, we came back in armed with all our random things we won at the arcade. Not a crumb more knowledge, but lots of random tat.
We did have a shrine for the next episode, so well, we can tweet that.
Among us figurines, which we then showed to every team that came into the dressing room.
Yeah, every single oh god, when the question writers came in and we eventually got kicked off, we were like, "Would you like to see our shrine?" They were like,
Mind games.
Well, I mean, we're going to have to sadly move on because I think this chat could go on all night. But let me ask you what your favourite moment was from this episode, and put that in the broadest terms. It can be what we saw on screen, or it could be something around it. Let's start with you, Elizabeth, and work your way around the screen.
They actually cut this bit out, but Victoria asked Rachel what she would be buried with, and Rachel described her troll doll collection.
Which is quite
I loved that part, but then they cut it from the episode, which was really disappointing. I thought people would like to hear about that.
Yeah, that would be my favourite one as well.
I mean, but couldn't that have turned into the and Rachel Young, who's has a troll collection that she would like to be buried with?
Yes,
Yeah.
when they invite us back, that can be my fact. When not.
That's a good one. Manifest.
Excellent. That's lovely. Thea, how about you?
Well, we had a thing on the show where like occasionally things would come up as clues, which were like really relevant to our friendship. So in this round, it was the song "Ready to Rumble" by Anderson Deck,
Yes,
which for some reason we have like a real thing about, because back in the day, like in lockdown, Lizzie like did a lie on her Snapchat story that it was my favorite song, and I'd never heard it. And this like spiraled to the point that she was like signing me up to do karaoke at college of this song, and I had to like contact them being like, I don't know this song, I can't do this. So it's like a really like as soon as that came up, we all lost our minds. We're like, oh my god, there's like a Katy Perry thing that comes up next question that's also like very relevant to our friendship. So it just sort of felt like kind of cosmic when like we like can't believe that "Ready to Rumble" is being mentioned here when we talk about it so much. So I found that quite exciting because it's my favorite song, obviously.
I mean, Michael's just getting excited because of the wrestling aspect of it.
Oh, well, yeah, he's a wrestling announcer as well as a boxing announcer. So,
yeah.
I'm always a fan of Michael Buffer for that.
Yeah. Rachel, your favourite moment?
I would have said the same one as Lizzie. Actually, getting to shout out my troll dolls was a big moment. So,
Lovely.
yeah, shame they cut that one.
Well, we've now given the world that joy. That's good. Stanley, how about you?
Oh, it's beating my dad. It's a sad little thing. It's just knowing I could come out of that and call him and be like, "Oi, loser." No, yeah, I think knowing that he'd been on it was a cool moment for us to share. And obviously he had some insights on how it worked, but also, you know, I said it on the show, it's quite nice as a young man to beat your dad at anything. And particularly something that means quite a lot to both of us was a really quite nice moment for me. And I hope for him as well. I hope he's proud of me. I'm sure
the pride will be there through gritted teeth. So yes, well done, son. Great, thanks, Stanley. Michael, what about your favourite moment of the night?
Well, from a personal point of view, it was getting a music question for more than 1 point, which so rarely happens. That was a pleasure for me. But yeah, just all round close game. But unfortunately, I think the wall played the difference, and if it had gone the other way, there would have been a very close game towards the end as well. So
yeah, I think there were some really nice questions. I like the sidecar one. I like the music one. I think I just like, and this is where it kind of circles round. I like the quote vibes. I just liked the spirit of the game, the fun of the game. It's so easy for a quiz show to be a bit sterile, and I think that the teams on Only Connect particularly make it kind of more fun by how you play the game and how you interact with one another. And I just really enjoyed that, seeing you two teams in action against each other. So I think that's lovely. But if I was pushed on a question, it would probably be the music one as well, because it's probably the first time I think in years that I actually knew all of the songs, and there wasn't some random classical music or something else in there that I had no idea on. So yes, that was my favourite. Thea's turned into a blank square.
I think she's run out of battery, so she apologised.
Okie doke. Well, Steve says vibes is the only way to play. And I think we all agree with the wisdom of that. And Pam letting us know that I'm better at dancing than singing. So we look forward to your later episode where you get to sing, apparently, Pam. Well, that's been wonderful, and probably chatted for far too long in terms of the running order of the show. But it's been absolutely lovely speaking to you, Stanley, Rachel, Elizabeth, and Thea, wherever you are. Yeah, looking forward to seeing you again at some point in the future. It's been, enjoyable. Oh, she's coming back. Everybody freeze as if we're not moving. So it's been absolutely fantastic watching you, and we look forward to seeing you again. Because these things come around really quickly now, don't they? These return matches, so I don't think it'll be too long before we see you. So at that point, we will say goodbye to you, and hopefully we will see you again. And Stanley, get yourself a hot toddy and go to bed.
And done.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody.
See you later.
Now play a short video.
Thanks, Gareth.
Thank you.
Huge thanks to our community of All Things Quiz members. Your support helps us to keep this channel going. It pays for essential running costs. Now, if you want to become a member of All Things Quiz, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/allthingsquiz, and from £3 a month, you not only get to support the work of this channel, but there are a range of member benefits available, including our monthly quiz. Hope to see you soon. Have you been waiting for a range of quiz merchandise to come on the market? Then wait no more. Whatever type of quizzer you are, whether you're a flashcarder, or you quiz with pride, or want to celebrate great quizzes like Millionaire Champions, or Bill McCaig, the king of 15 to 1, or your favourite TV shows, or even your favourite YouTube channel, where do you go? The answer's loading. It's tinyurl.com/ATQ store. Well, Mastermind then, Michael. I need to show this. We have our Mastermind competition that's running.
I think I've got 2 points if I've worked it out.
Yeah, well, let's have a look, because I actually haven't looked at the scores. Valerie's put this in. The most popular guesses are up on screen. Some of those definitely came in. Dali.
Yeah, Operation Rainer Bung was one of the ones I got.
Yeah, and Blumen Voss came in. I know that Pam got that. So Chris
3
Dyson,
points.
3 points. Chris got 1 in general knowledge. Well done to Chris. Michael, you picked up 3. Ed Mason, who's still topping the leaderboard, he picked up 2. So a good number of scorers today. Pam in the chat, you also got 2 points. Emma, Yi, and Rob got 1. So let's see what that difference that makes to the leaderboard. Ed is still up in the lead. Philip is second. Philip Isaac. Pam is in third. We have a couple of people on joint fourth, Yi and Toby Atella. We've got Rob Jones, Tim Hall tied on 6th, and tied on 8th. We've got Emma and Steve.
Still off the leaderboard.
The full leaderboard will be posted later tonight on our website. So anybody who wants to see that can go to our website. And if you want to play next week, the subjects are Billy Joel, JMW Turner, the BBC sitcom Miranda. Sitcom is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. And Antoine Lavoisier. You can go to tinyurl.com/mmpredict23 or mm-predict23. And that should be available for you to play pretty much from now. So, have a go. Join in. We've got still quite a lot of episodes to go. So lots of points to be had. What did you make of Mastermind tonight, Michael?
Well, I was looking forward to watching the Magic Johnson run, because when I was on in 2014, I did Michael Jordan as my subject. So I thought I'd have a read of his Wikipedia article. No more than that for revision, but I managed to get 6. So I was quite happy with that. Obviously, Paul got 10. So he picked me, but I like that subject. I got a couple on the Bismarck. So I was never going to get anything on Sid Barrett. I knew from Cambridge. I would have got a point on him. And I don't think I got anything on Lorca. But 4 good subjects. I thought I recognised Paul from somewhere.
I think he's been on the Chase.
Yeah, I looked him up during it, and he's been on the Chase. He won 40 grand on that. He's been a 15 to 1 grand finalist. He's been on Only Connect, so he could be a potential contender. He's got a good general knowledge score there. He got 12 on that. Obviously, if he aces his specialist subjects in further rounds, he's definitely in with a shout.
And that's the thing, you got 10 out of 11 questions, he passed on 1. So actually, within the context of his round, he did pretty much about as well as he could on his specialist subject. And then he'll probably feel he left maybe a couple of points in the general knowledge.
Yeah, possibly.
Katie Ledecky, I think, was in there. That was gettable.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Jamie T was hard. Arco,
I wouldn't expect him to get that one.
Yeah, and I think so he might look at maybe picking up another couple. So you're looking at a 24, 25 point player based on tonight's questions, and that's somebody who's going to be competitive.
Oh yeah, that can do it.
Rena Patel did very well on Sid Barrett, 10 points. I mean, everybody was kind of in there.
Well, they're all decent scores. Yeah, like 20 plus for Isabel as well. So
yeah,
that's a good effort and can win heats, but not today, unfortunately for her.
Yeah, Isabel's general knowledge was good. Actually, she did very well. But it was an interesting set of questions. I think for me, the difficulty for us doing the predictions competition is when you've got lots of German names and lots of Spanish names, and you don't know the subject. It's like you're writing these things down phonetically.
How prominent is this person you've not heard of before?
So let that be something. If anybody, when they look at the final table or full table on our website, thinks they can do any more points, probably because I misheard what the actual answers were in the special subjects for Bismarck and Lorca. But no, it was a good match. It threatened to be one that could lead to a tie break. It didn't quite get there in the end, but I thought it was a good one. And what I did love was the way Isabel fished Federal Reserve out at the last minute.
Yeah, she worked for it, but she got there in the end. So that was
went Federal, and then something clicked, and then and I guess, Michael, I think it's always better to try and give an answer, and sometimes something like that happens, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely, because you don't want to pass. It's a strategic disadvantage, definitely. And not saying anything, or just throwing like Smith. I know that saves you doing a pass, but again, if you can dig it out in reasonable time, it's worth doing. Obviously, if it's going to take you 30 seconds, then no, don't do that. But if it might come in a couple of seconds, have a little think.
And particularly after the buzzer, where you've got a little bit more time, it's not going to cost you. So no, I like the way she did that. She didn't panic. She thought through, and something just the penny dropped, and you could see it, and it was nice. So Mastermind was good and relatively tight. University Challenge, pretty much one-way traffic.
That was one-way show. Yeah, 225 to 65, and I think even then, I think they got like a couple of Kings got a couple of the last buzzers as well. So for a long time, it was even further apart. But Bogo for Kings had a good game though. He got 3 starters, and he seemed to be contributing quite a lot with their discussions. So he could consider himself unlucky, maybe, that the other team were just a bit quicker on most of the questions.
Yeah, Bogo was having a go. He nagged a couple of times, but
you've got to.
They had to. They were being so beaten. And Tatoglu for Lincoln, very strong play.
Yeah, seven buzzes. So that's an impressive performance, definitely. And Ward got 4 as well. So she did well as too.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very good performance by Lincoln. We've seen some very strong performances this season. It's hard to know when it's so one-sided, whether they are, really dominant, whether the other team's poor, whether it's just, it's just speed on the buzzer, and it's hard to until we see them against one of the other teams in the next round. I think we won't necessarily be able to judge them. But Tatoglu, though, to me, looks like a proper player.
He could be one of the big players.
Yeah.
It's different variety of subjects as well. It wasn't like just one kind of thing. So
Robert Frost one was quick. Burkina Faso, Turkic, Kansas City, realism. Yeah, he's got broad knowledge. Thought he was very good. Any questions that stood out to you tonight from there?
Well,
any bonus sets that particularly you liked?
Well, there's one thing that's slightly amusing. I think one of the starters, because they didn't know it, and they just said Johnson. And then Amal went, that tactic doesn't tend to work on here. And then the very next question was, which German footballer? And the answer was Muller, which is a go-to German surname. They knew it anyway, but it was slightly amusing that he said that tactic's not going to work, and the very next question it would have worked.
It was, absolutely. Could have written it better, to be fair. There was some great, His Dark Materials I liked. The
Oh, yeah,
unfortunate
yeah.
thing of saying, going for Pan but mentioning Lyra. But it's such a good player anyway. It didn't matter. I like the subgenres of sci-fi, World Cup top scorers. The probably my last comment really is, and somebody said about this on Facebook. I think it's Paul Sinha, about how certain things drift out of consciousness in quizzing. And for me, as long as I've been quizzing, Bandaranaike as the first prime minister, in Sri Lanka, etc., has been the most chestnutty of chestnuts. But recently, I've noticed on University Challenge and in a quiz league, it not being known, and I wonder whether. I think Paul postulated that for a while there were very few female prime ministers, and now there's been loads.
Yeah, that's it. It's a harder thing now. It's not something that stands out. Whereas,
yeah,
even 10 years ago, you would I'd make a note of that because it's something that doesn't happen that often, but it's quite very regular. Well, a much more regular thing now.
Yeah. So
with Bandaranaike, I've not heard that in a quiz for a while. So if you're just starting quizzing and you're not asked that question when it first comes up, you're not going to know it.
Yeah. Which goes to show that what we call chestnuts, actually one person's chestnut is another person's stopper, if you haven't heard it.
Oh, exactly, yeah. That's why they're going to keep getting asked, because not everyone knows them. They're still good questions. It just doesn't... Just because we've heard them 5-6 times doesn't make it not a good question.
No, indeed. So well done to Lincoln College. They go through. We're now going to turn our attention to Quiz Week. I've got a couple of things before we do. If I could put my presentation up. Just remind you that our website, allthingsquiz.com, is live, and you can sign up for our newsletter there. I showed the video earlier. And if you do sign up for the newsletter in our last Quizzy Monday of October, we're doing the draw for the Popmaster board game. And if you see our video reviewing it, you'll see Michael playing the Popmaster board game in that video. So look out for that. Oh, and there you go. There's the video.
I've forgotten all the questions now, so I might.
Yeah.
I'll take if I win it, I'll still take it, even though I have played it before.
What is the question? The winner was Sycamore. Sorry, the question. I can't start again. The answer in need of a question was Sycamore, and the winner was this one by Katrina Austin. In Druid lore, which tree with the scientific name Acer pseudoplantus connects the world of the dead and the world of the living. In superstition, those who attempt to cut it down often face an unexplained death. Let that be a lesson to us. Well done, Katrina. This week's answer in need of a question is Operation. You can now vote at tinyurl.com/WITQ Operation. Voting open until Wednesday when we release the shortlist to find a winner. So look out for that. This is all the Mastermind stuff. So Quiz Week. Last week's Quiz of the Week was Scott Blish. He won his third Mimir competition of the year. This time Mimir as well, on top of pop solos and I think International Culture Challenge.
Yeah, Triple Crown. I think he'll be high up there for Quizzer of the Year when that comes up in December.
I would imagine he will be. That it's quite the spread. So well done to him. Ian Fennell won his heat of Brain of Britain last week. So well done to him. And He Jin Hui for the Chinese quiz, Chinese Treasures quiz, I think it is, came third. So well done to he. Team of the Week, Edinburgh, for their performance last week on University Challenge. Motley Crue for winning Quiz Nations Asia Pacific was second. And Solomon's Family from Only Connect were third. So that's last week's winners. This week's nominees are Dan Burgess. He got 13 owns in flames. I'm not sure how many questions you get of your own in flames.
Yeah, I think it might be 16 rather than 15. I'm not 100%.
But that was the top performance there. Chris Ducklin, 14 out of 15 in Pop Culture Challenge. Pat Gibson won the Quest Grand Prix. Now, we touched on that earlier, Michael. You had a particularly good weekend. You 7th winning sports genre, 3rd in entertainment. You're all strong in those areas. What was it about it this time that was particularly suited you?
I'm not sure. I've got the paper behind me, but it's I'll have to double check. But just a few guesses came off. I just sort of hit my stronger areas, I think. Sometimes that just happens in a quiz. I didn't really make any mistakes on those particular rounds anyway. So I pretty much maxed out what I could get, and my guesses came off. So just hopefully that's not all my luck used up for the year.
but not making mistakes in a written quiz like that is kind of critical, isn't it? Because 1 point can be, 5 places.
Easily, yeah.
So it makes a hell of a difference. But nice to get one of those under your belt, to get a top 10 in a very, very strong field as well.
Oh, yeah, all the main names were all there, so it was.
Yeah.
I'm very, very pleased with that achievement. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, well done to Pat. He just edged out Kevin Ashman in that. I think it was down to tiebreaker questions that went down to. So well done to Pat. Yet another win under his belt. Tom Godfrey and Alan Heath both got 7 out of 8 in Quiz League London Division 4. There were quite a lot of 7 out of 8 in QLL. So the 2 in the lowest division are shown here. Likewise, OQL. There were lots of 7s out of 8. So Lewis, our good friend Lewis Jones, is in there from Division 4. Gerard McHugh. Subrat M also got 13 owns in Flames. Tom Mead, back on the Quest Grand Prix, got 30 out of 30 in entertainment. I mean, that's a hell of a performance, isn't it, Michael?
The 2 I missed, I was just wasn't going to get. So, yeah, just to get them all, that's really good. And obviously, I thought maybe I might win 2 genres for the first ever time, but Tom, too good on the day.
No.
Yeah, so that's really good from Tom.
Yeah. So, yeah, very deserved nominations. I mean, I got 25. I think I looked at it, I could probably have picked up, I'd heard of 3 others. So, on my best of days, my most inspired of days, still couldn't have, got the 30. So, yeah, well done to Tom. Zhang Qi won episode 2 of the Chinese National Treasures quiz show. George Scratchard and Ted Van Houten got 7 out of 8 in OQL USA Division 5. Again, loads of 7 out of 8.
Well, yeah, good work from George there, because he's obviously British, so getting 7 out of 8 on OQL USA, that's good work.
Yeah, I mean, Brit's playing over there, and it is American-centric stuff. It's very, very good by George. So well done. Mickey Wynne Davis won the latest heat of Brain of Britain, beating Ray Eaton, who's a very good Quiz League London quizzer.
That's a good scalp, definitely. Ray's a former Mastermind finalist, I think.
Yeah.
Very good player. So yeah, well done to Mickey.
And then we saw Paul Judge win Mastermind tonight. So well done to all of those nominees. And Team of the Week, Chaotic Good Milf Hotel scored 60 points in OQL USA. I think they only dropped 6 of their own questions, as did Grey Monks in getting 61 in QLL. Phenomenal performances by those 2 teams. Misfits were the top scorers in OQL. In Quiz Nations, Portugal North-South Axis were the top scorers. Splendid Isolation back on OQL beat the leaders of OQL Division 4B and went top in doing it. And we've seen it tonight. Gunners beat One Only Connect, and Lincoln College won University Challenge. So you can now vote at tinyurl.com/QW09oct23. Voting is open till Friday evening. So, good set of nominees, but you can also send in nominations to tinyurl.com/ATQ-nominations. Always look forward to those by 5 o'clock on a Monday. And some news. Trivia Hall of Fame has released its nominees for their annual vote for the class of 23. So we've got a bunch of people: Steve Bonham, Rob Hanna, Will Jones, Adam Lynch, and John Stitcher, founders of OQL and OQL USA. Ben Chan, a Jeopardy player. Khalil Ghanam from O'Brien's. I think that's a quiz chain in America. Kondo Hitomi, this woman who runs the Japan Quizzing Association. She's done amazing things there, both in TV and in non-broadcast quizzing. Christian Kelly, who you might have seen interviewed on our channel. He runs Quizzing Australia and Quiz Nations Asia Pacific. He gets a nomination. Now, they wanted to recognise TV people. They do in America. So Alex Trebek's already in there. Magnus Magnusson has been nominated for his formative work on Mastermind. Troy Meyer for his performances on Jeopardy, performances in World Championships. He's in there. Pam Muller, you see her in OQL USA as well, but she was nominated for her Jeopardy performance. Wing Commander GL Mulkey for his formation of the Karnataka Quiz Association in India gets a nomination. The founders of Sporkle. If you're not playing Sporkle, then have a look for it on the internet. It's great for the quizzer. Anne Robinson and Jane Lynch, hosts of The Weakest Link. Again, Trivia Hall of Fame likes hosts as well as players and writers, etc. They're in. And Scott Rogowski, who hosted the American version of HQ when that was the big thing, he's in there as well. So you can vote there at triviahalloffame.com/vote/vote.php. And upcoming events, we've got our members quiz coming up in 29th of October. The formatting's gone a little bit weird. There are a couple of Quiz Bowl or a few Quiz Bowl tournaments there as well to look out for. All of these will be in our newsletter as well if you're signed up to that. International Culture Challenge is open for applications. Deadline is 10th of November. Only Connect and I still haven't got that right. It's Mastermind are open for applications. But actually, I think University Challenge are as well, to be fair.
Yeah, Pointless are as well. If you want to apply for that, that's currently on the website.
So we'll add some more to this for the newsletter. ITV have got a few shows as well on the go, so go to their webpage to find out that. And Chinese Poetry Quiz, again, the link will be in our newsletter, but look out for local announcements there as well. And kind of caught on the grapevine this week, Quiz Nations Global is coming. So there have been sort of country-specific Quiz Nations tournaments. Previously, there was a Quiz Nations World Championships where they're bringing that sort of thing back for a global competition. Look out for that. I think that might be November, but look out for anything on the quizzing.com or the IQA's communications on that. And if you're already playing in a national Quiz Nations competition, then you'll surely hear about that. So, been a busy week in the world of quiz. Thanks so much, Michael, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks everybody who's been in the chat. Thanks to our earlier guests as well. They're absolutely fantastic. Don't forget you can vote in what is the question at tinyurl.com/WITQ Sycamore. No, that Sycamore was last time. It was Operation. So don't forget you can vote for that, and you can vote for Team Quiz of the Week at tinyurl.com/QW09OCT23. And all of those links are on our link tree anyway, which I should probably put up here. So there you go, link tr.ee/allthingsquiz, or you'll get all of that information again in our newsletter, which will be going out tomorrow morning. So yes, thanks again, Michael, for joining us. We will be back next week, and as ever, we will work out who the guests are over the course of the week. But we will definitely be back. Have a fantastic week, and we will see you soon. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.